Now, I want to do something, if I could, at the beginning, if you could join me. We've had a wonderful day of people sharing profound thoughts and insights so far. And I wanted to give them a big round of applause. Firstly, because you give credit where it's due. And secondly, Alistair spoke about making this room the noisiest room in the whole Congress. So could you please join me giving a huge round of applause for everyone? So my topic is 3 golden questions, which as a leader, every leader must answer. Now, the theme of this conference is purposeful purpose. My purpose of sharing this is to provide some insights that can help you incorporate diversity, boost engagement, and improve performance of your teams. So, before we begin, let me first paint a picture of what an ideal workplace looks like. An ideal environment is something where there are leaders worth following, there's work worth doing, and there's culture worth belonging to. Who here thinks that's a wonderful picture to have? Show of hands, please. Show of hands, everyone? Cool. Looks very bright and sunny, doesn't it? Unfortunately, the reality is a little dark, a little grim. What happens is people tend to be unhappy with work. Now, we've had insights shared in the previous sessions about people not being happy, stress and disengagement and many, many things. Performance as a result suffers. It's not up to the mark. Lastly, they leave. Now, there are many surveys that have been conducted, and the numbers kind of vary here and there. One common thing that stands out is people don't leave organizations. People leave their leaders. It's people leaving people. Now, as a result, as a leader of a team, it kind of becomes your responsibility to create that kind of an ideal work environment where people stay engaged, where people perform, and they're happy to stay. So what makes leadership tick? Let me give you a simplified view of what makes leadership tick. Leadership is about how you engage your people, how you inspire your people or motivate your people. It's about how you empower people, enable them to step up and do a bigger role. And this is something which I believe in hugely. Leadership is about serving others. I think leadership, personally, is most effective and inspirational when leaders serve and support people. Now, before we go on further, I'd just like to share a bit of story about myself. I'll tell you a bit so you know me a little better. Now, I am the founder of Arpan Consultancy, a leadership coaching and training company. My background is that of an IT professional. A bit of a commonality with what Sunil just shared in his session, a different industry, different genre. Now, I was fortunate to work in a leadership position where I was managing a fairly large size team. I had this aha moment once. And someone asked me in the break that what made you switch from IT to my own business? The aha moment was, I realized that if I have a good day at work, I felt a level of satisfaction. If I helped someone else have a good day at work, I felt double the satisfaction. And that's a feeling that resonated with me big time. And again, there's a bit of a commonality with what Sunil said, so it's almost like we're brothers in this sense. Same thoughts. So that inspired me to start my own consulting firm, and that's where I'm here today. What I realized in the course of my leadership experience, as well as running my own business, is people, humans, are meaning-making beings. Whatever they see, whatever they hear, whatever they experience, they associate a meaning to it. Perceptions are formed constantly. So, as a leader, it kind of becomes important that the experience you give them, the experience you give to your people, are positive. Where people have a positive association with what they see, hear, and experience. And people working in organizations, people working in teams. Sorry. They ask their leaders these questions all the time. And that's what I want to share with you today, the 3 golden questions. So who here is ready to dive into this? Can I have a big yes? Louder. Okay, third time lucky, show me some love. It was just Valentine's Day yesterday. Who's ready? Wow. Talk about love, thank you. So the first golden question is, do I belong? Do I belong? Now, belonging or a sense of connection is a core human need. Now, there are quite a few human needs that we know of. One of them is connection. And when you answer the question that do I belong, people tend to feel connected with their group members. There's a bit of a rapport that they generate with other people. They know that they can trust each other unconditionally. Difference of opinion is welcomed. So you might have an out-of-the-box thinking. You might have an opinion which is quite different to others, yet that is not discriminated upon because it's a little different from the popular opinion. There's greater safety. When you have connection with people, there's safety in numbers. People feel that there's a tribe that I can associate with. So greater safety. And it's also about knowing that someone has my back. My leader, people who I work with, they have my back. So greater safety. Now, Jack Ma or Alibaba seems to be a very, very popular option here. Sunil shared the same thing, and so am I. It's about increasing your love quotient. Now, what's very interesting about that statement coming from Jack Ma is it's coming from a person who is the head of a technological firm. It's very interesting. What he said was to increase or to be able to win in the future, you've got to increase your love quotient. So it's not somebody who's a heart-centered entrepreneur or someone. I mean, of course, he has a heart, no doubt. It's someone who's known to be a technological company head, saying something about increasing your love quotient. So the way to increase your love quotient, or for people to feel that sort of thing, it starts with a sense of belonging. Without a sense of belonging, the engagement drops, and forget about love. It's not going to serve anybody in that case. And the other thing is connection creates collaboration. When you have a sense of rapport with everyone, you are open to collaborating with others. You are open to hearing what their thoughts are and making sure there is synergy. Now, who here has heard or experienced organizations where there's one department not talking to each other? Or in other words, you have departments working in silos. What do you think happens when we have silos in an organization? Can I get a couple of thoughts? All right, that's good. Because it was Valentine's Day yesterday, for someone who's sharing their opinion, can you do one thing for me, please? Anyone sharing the thoughts? I just want you to sort of give a one single clap at the person who's sharing that. So, ma'am, can you please repeat your... All right. Thank you. Anyone else? 1, 2. We'll take one more. Anyone else? Silos, what happens? Once again to the lady, 1, 2. All right, so when people lack belonging, it's all of that gets sort of thrown in the gutter. Where there's a lack of connection, people tend to be working in silos. The walls sort of come up, where people feel that I'm not safe anymore. And that can be a very, very demoralizing thing to be, because it creates what I call a domino effect. Someone's insecurity, people pick it up, and that's what people sort of propagate on and on. Now, the other thing is, when people make mistakes, as a leader, what is your response? Do you encourage people to make mistakes and try something new and learn something new? Now, I've got to make a disclaimer here. The 3 golden questions are not something which you answer only in one kind of scenario where things are good. It's also when things are tough. It's also when there's a lot of uncertainty and chaos around. Because for people and organizations to rally together, they need to rally together as one unit. Without a sense of belonging, that does not happen. So how do you create belonging? Now, I'll share some examples which you may already know. It's aligning with your purpose and vision. So making sure your team members, your employees understand what the purpose and vision is. So that way they know that this is where I belong. I feel welcomed here. Clarify the expectations that you have on them. So they know what exactly is expected out of them, and that inspires them to do more great work. Celebrate together. Now, a team that stays together, celebrates together, does some amazing things. So it's about celebrating together. The concept of project parties is a very good example where people come together. It's not so much to discuss work, but to get to know each other, to build that rapport again, to know that, okay, I know more about this person outside work, and then that creates a bit of a bond. So the next one is, do I matter? Now, we spoke about connection as one of the core human needs. We have another one called significance, which is a core human need. Significance is for people to feel important, for people to feel valued. And it's, as a leader, if you make your people feel valued, if you make them feel important, they can do a lot of good things for you. When people get significance, they give others significance. Now, Sir Richard Branson famously says this all over again, that companies, of course, want to make sure that their customers get a lot of significance. What he says is, if you value your employees, they will value your customers. So it's a very good example of making sure that their employees matter. That when you give them the significance, they make sure that they give significance to the people who matter for the organization. And people who are appreciated do more than what's expected. Now, a couple of days back, I was flying from Delhi to Bombay, and I flew via SpiceJet Airlines. I was browsing through the magazine, and I noticed a section which spoke about SpiceJet Insider, which shared stories and examples of SpiceJet companies' top performers, top employees. It was appreciating and acknowledging efforts of some of the star performers. And there was one section where one employee was handpicked to share their story in terms of where she came from. She came from a town called Mangalore. And so it was sort of given insight to where her hometown is. Now, that may be one employee, but think of what the employee would have felt when the company actually published her story or his story in the magazine. So I think it's a great example of how you can make your employees matter. Now, other things are appreciation and acknowledgement. You appreciate others, acknowledge their thoughts. Rewards and recognition, that's a great way to make them feel valued and special. Invite people's inputs on key matters. Now, this is something which leaders do, but again, not consistently enough. If it's an important occasion, an important engagement, do they completely take the steering wheel, or do they say, look, you have expertise on this particular matter, why don't you say something that can add value to this initiative? To invite people's inputs on key matters. The last golden question is, can I contribute? Now, contribution is also another core human need. Now, with our quality of life, there are two components with quality of life. One is the results that we achieve, which is basically our success. And the second thing is fulfillment. When there is success but no fulfillment, we feel that there's a bit of a void, right? When there's a bit of a fulfillment and not much to show for it, we again feel that, look, there's again not much we have achieved. But when you have success, knowing that you feel fulfilled, your quality of life goes up. So when you enable your employees or you enable your team to contribute, it drives fulfillment for them. Just going to borrow a line which, again, Sunil said in his previous talk, was an engaged employee stays for what he or she gives. And that's the sense of contribution, to be able to make a difference, that they matter. It helps leaders delegate. Now, who here, and you can be honest here, who here struggles with the issue of delegation within teams? Anyone? Thanks for sharing. Now, when you enable and empower your team members to step up and contribute, it kind of helps the issue with delegation. You know that you can give somebody a task and it can be taken care of because they are motivated enough, they are empowered enough to see it through. And what happens when you enable others to contribute is that you create trust. And trust is, it's almost like when you sort of lay a garden, right? When you put in a garden bed to plant some veggies and fruits. You lay the soil, you prepare the soil. Trust is one of those things that you do to prepare an organization for greater growth. Oops, playing up. So just like when you need to plant fruits and veggies, you need to prepare the soil first. You basically put in the manure and make sure that everything is good. When you instill a sense of trust in your organization, in your culture, that enables others to contribute, and they know that you can they can move ahead and do some great things. It's an example I often use is that of a trapeze artist. You know, you've seen a trapeze artist perform in a circus. What does the trapeze artist do? It does some amazing, some death-defying stunts. What enables a trapeze artist to do those stunts is a safety net that's planted at the bottom of the ring. Take the safety net out, I don't think the trapeze artist would actually try too many things. He or she would probably try to make it a bit safe. And that's what the power of trust is about. It's giving that safety net where people know that, look, I can try and do some amazing things, and the leader has my back, and there is an environment where people can actually support me, stretch and grow. How you enable contribution is clarify how the efforts make a difference. Now, when you know that your efforts actually make a difference to not just your team, but for people beyond your team, your customers, your stakeholders, it actually gives you a sense of drive. It gives you a sense of motivation. And that clarification is very important. Providing ownership of tasks to make sure that you trust them to see the whole thing through. Of course, sometimes as a leader, you might think, if I give this person ownership of tasks, will things fall through? Initially, yes, it could happen. But then as a leader, you're there to oversee things and make sure that things are good. Opportunities to step up. It's for them to play a bigger game. Now, here's a point of view here I want to make here. We speak of resilient teams and resilient organizations all the time, right? Now, it's great that the leaders of an organization are resilient and they can solve problems. What makes an organization truly resilient is if leaders can enable their people to be problem solvers. Because then it takes the heat of leaders to be the problem solver every single time, and it gives the people the motivation that, look, I can solve a problem, and my leader trusts me to solve a problem. So an opportunity to step up is something which happens when you enable people to contribute. Now, I heard this story last year that beautifully summarizes what we went through. It was the 1980 Winter Olympics, and the United States team was filled with semi-pro or amateur players, a very inexperienced and weak team on paper. And everyone at the start of the tournament had written them off. So it's the ice hockey team for United States. And somehow, against all odds, they were able to make their way to the final. In the final, they were pitted against Russia, who on paper was a very much experienced and a strong team. Can you guess what happened? What was the result of the match? Any guesses? So you had a David versus Goliath situation. The US team, inexperienced, versus Russia, which was a very strong team. What happened? What do you think would happen? All right. So the US defeated Russia 4-3. Now it was revealed after the match, something which the coach of the United States shared with their team members. He told their players something, three sentences. You were born to be a player. You were meant to be here. This moment is yours. Oops. So, in one particular frame of sentence, the coach answered the 3 golden questions that the team would have, which is, do I belong? Oops, sorry. Do I belong? Do I matter? Can I contribute? And how they contributed. Thank you. Now, what would happen for you if you could incorporate diversity in your environment, boost engagement, and improve productivity? That would be a great thing to achieve, right, for your organization? Now, the 3 golden questions are one of the ways in which leaders can achieve that. Now, remember the statement I made at the start, that leadership is all about serving others. Now, what I've done 2 years back is I've authored a book called A Servant's Heart, Leadership That Inspires. Now, something which I'm proud about is the message that the book delivers. The message is leadership, as I said, leadership is most effective and inspirational when leaders look to serve, support, and nurture their people. And if you are curious on how you can engage, inspire, and empower your people, this book could be a handy guide for you. And it not only helps you with that, it's also something that's a great reference for diversity, engagement, and performance. And if you'd like to order a copy of the book, you can order that through the link. So you feel free to take, feel free to take photos of that if you want to know about the link. If you want to know more about the book, if you have any questions, you're more than happy to talk to you after this, during the break. And if you would like to, I'll probably give you a minute or 2 to take the photo. If you'd like to stay connected with me through email or social media, that's where you can find me. So pretty active on all the 4 channels here. Now, if you like any questions, if you like the slides to be given to you, I'm happy to sort of meet you after the break and get your business card so I can connect with you and send the slides through as well. Now, are there any questions anyone has on what we covered so far?